used its military planes to hit places inside Iran. These attacks targeted Iran's nuclear sites, places where they work with nuclear materials. Israel also attacked military bases and killed some important commanders and scientists. After this, Iran sent more missiles and drones towards Israel. This exchange was the most serious fight between Iran and Israel in many years. Leaders from many countries immediately asked both sides to stop fighting. They wanted to prevent a full war. The whole world was very worried about a large conflict starting. For example, the price of oil in the world went up because people were afraid that the fighting would spread. This dangerous event in June 2025 was the result of a problem that has been growing for decades. This long-standing problem is about Iran's nuclear program. For a long time, Iran has been developing its ability to use nuclear technology. Other countries, especially Israel and the United States, fear that Iran wants to build nuclear weapons. They are afraid that Iran is getting very close to being able to make a nuclear bomb. This story will explain why the possibility of Iran having a nuclear bomb makes many countries so scared. It will show why the fight in June 2025 was a very dangerous moment for the world. We will look back at the history of Iran's nuclear work and understand the different reasons why countries are so concerned. Understanding the past helps us see why the situation in the Middle East is so tense and why the risk of a big war is real. 2. A look at the past. Iran's nuclear journey began many years ago, in the 1950s. It started with help from the United States. The U.S. President at that time, Dwight D. Eisenhower, had a program called Atoms for Peace. This program wanted countries to use nuclear science for good things, like making power, not for weapons. Through this program, the United States gave Iran its first small nuclear reactor for research in the year 1967. The leader of Iran was the Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. He really liked the idea of nuclear power. He wanted Iran to be a modern country. He planned to build large nuclear power plants to create electricity for his country's growing needs. He made deals with companies from Western countries, like Germany and the United States, to help build these power plants. He thought nuclear energy was important for Iran to be a strong and advanced nation in the region. However, a very big change happened in the year 1979. This was the Islamic Revolution. The Shah's government ended, and new leaders took power. The new government had different ideas and stopped many programs, especially those with Western countries. They stopped the nuclear program that the Shah started. The people from abroad who worked on the program left Iran. All the plans to build big power plants stopped. For a while, the nuclear work in Iran stopped completely. But the new leaders still saw value in nuclear science and technology. Perhaps they thought it was important for the future, for power, or for other reasons. So later, they decided to restart the nuclear program. But they did it in secret. They did not tell the world about all their activities. They started building places and doing research in secret. This hidden work continued for many years in the 1980s and 1990s. This history of stopping the open program and then starting it secretly is a key part of why other countries became worried about Iran's intentions with nuclear technology in the years that followed. It created a lot of mistrust about what Iran was truly doing. 3. Secrets and sanctions. In the year 2002, a big secret about Iran came out. An opposition group that was living outside of Iran told the world about hidden places. These places were secret sites where Iran was working on its nuclear program. Two important sites were Natanz and Iraq. People didn't know about them before. When the world found out about these secret sites, it created a lot of worry. Many countries, especially the United States and countries in Europe, felt they could no longer trust Iran. Why was Iran hiding its nuclear work if it was for peaceful energy, as Iran said? Because of this lack of trust, the United Nations and many nations decided to put pressure on Iran. They started using sanctions. Sanctions are like economic punishments. They try to stop a country from selling its goods, like oil, and stop it from buying things from other countries. The goal of these sanctions was to force Iran to be open about its program and stop working on things that could be used for a bomb. At the same time, another country, Israel, was watching very closely. Israel saw Iran's nuclear program as a big danger to its own safety. Israel decided to try and slow down Iran's work using secret methods. There were reports that people linked to Israel found ways to put bad parts into the special machines Iran used to enrich uranium. These machines are called centrifuges. The bad parts caused the machines to break down often. Also, in 2010, a very smart computer virus was used to attack Iran's nuclear computers. This virus, known as Stuxnet, made the centrifuges spin out of control or stop working right. This secret attack also caused delays. The United States was reportedly involved in this cyber attack. With these sanctions and secret actions caused problems for Iran and slowed things down sometimes. Countries also tried to talk with Iran, offering reasons for Iran to stop certain nuclear activities. But even with all this pressure, the economic sanctions, the secret attacks, and the talks, Iran did not fully stop its nuclear program. Iran's leaders rebuilt broken machines and kept working. They kept some parts of the program secret. The world continued to worry. The hidden work and the lack of trust meant the situation was still dangerous. Iran was working on nuclear things, and other countries were trying hard to stop it. 4. A big deal. In the year 2015, Iran and 6 important countries made a big agreement. These countries were the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, and Germany. Together, they were often called the P5+1. They talked for a long time to make this happen. It was a major effort using diplomacy. They called this agreement the JCPOA. This was short for Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. It was a very important international deal. The main goal was to stop Iran from building a nuclear bomb through talks, not war. In this deal, Iran made many promises. Iran agreed to limit its work with enriched uranium a lot. Enriched uranium is material needed for bombs. Iran promised to keep only a small amount of low-enriched uranium. It also agreed to have many fewer machines, called centrifuges, that make uranium enriched. Iran had to remove and store most of these machines. Iran also agreed to let international inspectors check its nuclear places very carefully and often. These inspectors were from a world group called the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA. Their job was very important: to make sure Iran followed every rule of the deal. For example, Iran agreed to change its reactor at Arak so it could not easily make material for bombs. It also agreed to limit research at the underground site called Fordo. Inspectors had wide rights to visit sites, install cameras, and watch activities. In return, the 6 countries made a big promise. They agreed to end the economic sanctions against Iran. Sanctions were tough rules on Iran by the UN, US, and others. These sanctions hurt Iran's money and trade. Ending sanctions helped Iran's economy greatly. Experts said the deal would make it much harder and take much longer for Iran to quickly make material for one nuclear bomb. Before the deal, they thought Iran could gather this material in maybe 2 or 3 months. After the deal, they calculated it would take at least 1 year. This time was called the breakout time. A longer breakout time gave the world more warning. The deal officially started in early 2016. Inspectors from the IAEA immediately went to Iran to check that Iran was making all the changes. The world watched carefully if the deal would hold. For a short time after the deal began, many people and governments felt a sense of relief and increased safety. They thought this agreement was a good way to prevent a dangerous nuclear problem. It was seen as a major success for talking instead of fighting. The world hoped the deal would keep everyone safe from Iran having nuclear weapons for many years. This feeling of safety was a big change after years of worry. 5. The deal is broken. The year after the big nuclear deal, things looked better. But this did not last long. In 2018, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, decided the U.S. would leave the deal. President Trump said the deal was not good enough. He put many strong rules and limits back on Iran. These were called sanctions. Sanctions made it very hard for Iran to sell oil and do business with other countries. Iran was very unhappy about this. Its leaders said the U.S. broke its promise. Because the U.S. left the deal and put sanctions back, Iran started to break the rules too. This happened over the next few years, from 2019 to 2025. Iran began to do more nuclear work than the deal allowed. It started making the nuclear material, called uranium, at a higher level of purity. This higher level is closer to what is needed for a bomb. The deal said Iran could only enrich uranium a little bit, just enough for power plants. But now, Iran started enriching it much more, sometimes up to 60% purity. This is very close to the 90% needed for a weapon. Iran also started using newer, faster machines called centrifuges. The deal said Iran should use older, slower machines and fewer of them. But Iran put in many advanced centrifuges. This meant they could make the material for a bomb much faster. Also, Iran made it harder for inspectors to check their nuclear places. The deal allowed inspectors to go almost anywhere and use cameras to watch things. But Iran limited where inspectors could go and sometimes turned off cameras. This meant the world could not be sure what Iran was doing. By the year 2025, Iran had much more enriched uranium than before. It had also learned how to use the advanced machines well. Experts said Iran was now much, much closer to having enough material to build a nuclear bomb. It might only take a few weeks or even days to get the material ready. This made the world very worried again. The big deal was broken, and Iran's nuclear program was growing fast. 6. Why other countries worry. Many countries around the world look at Iran's nuclear program and feel worried. Their worries are big and different. First, let us look at Israel. For Israel, Iran having a nuclear bomb is a very, very big danger. Israel sees it as a threat to its existence. This means Israel thinks Iran could try to destroy it. Israel has a rule sometimes called the Begin Doctrine. This rule says Israel will attack any country in the area if that country is getting weapons that could destroy Israel. Because Iran is getting closer to being able to make a bomb, Israel is ready to act. It feels it must stop Iran. Israel does not want Iran to have this power. It also worries that if Iran has a bomb, it will help groups like Hezbollah or Hamas more. This would make Israel less safe. Next, the United States is also very worried, but for different reasons. The U.S. is a big country that tries to keep the world safe, especially about nuclear weapons. There are world rules about countries not making nuclear bombs, called the Non-Proliferation Treaty. The U.S. worries that if Iran makes a bomb, other countries in the Middle East will want to make bombs too. This could start a dangerous race and make the world much less safe. It could also make it harder for the U.S. to be a strong leader in the world. The U.S. also has friends in the Middle East, like Israel and countries next to the sea. If Iran has a bomb, these friends might feel less safe and might not trust the U.S. as much. The U.S. wants to keep its power and friendships strong in this important area. Another big worry for the U.S. is oil. A lot of the world's oil comes from the Middle East. Ships carry this oil through a narrow sea path called the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran had nuclear weapons, it could feel strong enough to stop these ships. This would cause big problems for oil supply everywhere and make oil prices very high for all countries. So, the U.S. wants to protect the oil supply for the world. The U.S. sees Iran getting a bomb as a threat to all these things: world safety, its place in the Middle East, and the global economy. These are some of the main reasons why countries like Israel and the United States are so worried about Iran's nuclear program getting closer to a bomb in June 2025. Different points of view. Different countries see Iran's nuclear program in very different ways. These different ideas make the problem hard to solve. Countries like Saudi Arabia and others in the Gulf area are big rivals with Iran. They are very worried. They think if Iran has a nuclear bomb, it will change who is strong in the Middle East. They fear Iran will use this power to help groups in places like Lebanon and Yemen, making the region much less safe and more dangerous for them. They are also afraid that if Iran gets a bomb, other countries, maybe even themselves, will feel they must get nuclear weapons too. This could start a dangerous race for bombs in the Middle East. These countries also worry about oil trade. If Iran causes problems in the Persian Gulf, where many oil ships go, it could hurt the world's oil supply and their own economies. For Saudi Arabia and its neighbors, a nuclear Iran is a huge threat to their safety and their place in the region. In Europe, countries such as France, Germany, and the UK also have big worries. They are neighbors to the Middle East, closer than the U.S. They fear that a war over Iran's nuclear program could happen and cause many problems. A war might mean many people have to leave their homes and look for safety in other countries, like Europe. European countries have important business connections with Iran. They really want peace and calm in the region. They worked hard to make the nuclear deal in 2015. They want to find a way through talking, not fighting, to stop Iran from building a bomb. They say Iran's nuclear work is not just for power plants and medicine. They think Iran is getting too close to being able to make weapons. European leaders worry about what might happen if Iran gets the bomb, or if Israel or the U.S. decides to attack Iran to stop it. The countries in Europe hope a new agreement can be made to solve this problem peacefully. Iran's leaders and many people in Iran see things differently. They say their nuclear program is completely for peaceful reasons, like making electricity for homes and making things for hospitals. They say they have a right to use nuclear energy, like other countries, under a world agreement. They also point out that Israel has nuclear weapons but has not signed the same agreement as Iran. Iran says it needs its nuclear program for safety. They believe it will help protect their country from being attacked by others. They think about countries like Iraq and Libya. These countries were attacked, and Iran thinks it is because they were not strong enough to stop it. Iran feels that having strong nuclear technology will make other countries afraid to attack Iran. For many Iranians, the nuclear program is a source of great pride. It is a sign that Iran is a modern, strong country that can stand up for itself. They feel other countries should not tell Iran what it can or cannot do with its technology. These different points of view make it very hard for everyone to agree. 8. What happens next? The dangerous fight in June 2025 has created a very difficult situation for the world. Countries now face hard choices about Iran's nuclear program. For many years before, countries tried different ways to stop Iran from getting too close to a bomb. They used economic sanctions, which meant Iran could not trade easily with other nations. They also used secret actions to try and slow down Iran's progress in its nuclear work. However, these methods did not fully stop Iran. Iran continued to work on its program, sometimes in secret. The big agreement made in 2015, called the JCPO, is broken now. The United States left the deal in 2018. After that, Iran stopped following some of the rules of the deal too. Today, Iran is closer to having the necessary material for a nuclear weapon than it was when the deal was in place. It might be possible to make a new deal with Iran, but making a new agreement will be very hard. This new deal would need to be stronger than the old one to make countries feel safe. It would need Iran to accept very careful inspections from international groups. These inspections would need to happen for a long period, perhaps many years. Inspectors would need to see all parts of Iran's nuclear work and locations. In return, countries could remove sanctions and allow Iran to trade freely. But because there is a lot of mistrust between Iran and other countries, finding an agreement that everyone can accept is a big challenge. The risk of a big war starting in the Middle East is now very high. The fighting that happened in June 2025 showed everyone how quickly a conflict can grow bigger. Many countries are asking for calm and want to stop the fighting from getting worse. They hope to find a peaceful way to solve the problem through talks. But many people feel that time is running out. Iran is now close to being able to quickly produce enough material for a nuclear bomb. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, has talked about the situation. President Trump has said clearly that he believes Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. He has spoken about different paths forward, including trying to make a bigger New Deal with Iran. He has also mentioned the risk of conflict if no deal is reached. His position adds another layer of difficulty and uncertainty to the situation as the world looks for a solution. If no new agreement is found, the chance of more conflict happening becomes higher. Leaders around the world want very much to avoid a major war. They hope that talking can still work to find a solution. But after the dangerous events of June 2025, no one is certain what will happen next. Will countries find a way to make a new agreement and keep the peace? Or will the danger of war continue to grow?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.